So you must be thinking this is probably the worst time in the world to be talking about the tranquility of the mind. How tranquility, what tranquility, right? The whole world seems to be in a state of chaos, especially around us here in India. Nothing seems to be working. Structures that we have been able to trust for generations, centuries, we always thought somebody else would look after it. Hospitals, doctors, medicines, whoever thought we'd be struggling for oxygen, right? The very air that we breathe is sort of turning on us. At this point, it's very natural for us to want to turn to something, to expect that our tranquility, our peace of mind, our stability, our security comes from sources outside of us. Which is why today I wanted to talk to you about the tranquil mind, right? You might think that somebody who has the capacity to be tranquil in such a state of chaos, there's got to be something wrong with him, right? How can you be at peace? How can you be calm? It's like if somebody was like that around us, we would turn to them and say, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you reacting? Right? Why aren't you shouting? Why aren't you yelling? Why aren't you emotional? Because we expect a reaction. In fact, we have begun to judge and gauge a situation by the reaction of people around us. If everybody is upset, if everybody is screaming, if things are not going okay, then we know that, hey, something is wrong. So even if we have arrived at that situation thinking, not knowing if anything in particular is wrong, if we see a big crowd outside, around an accident spot, outside a hospital, then we know something is wrong. So we have become a society, a generation that looks at the crowd, that looks at the reaction, and then gauges the situation. Once you know this, it's very important to look at the reactions of people around you and say, hey, is the situation as bad as everybody is saying it is? Now, I'm not at all saying the situation is not bad. There is a lack of oxygen. The hospitals are ill equipped. The medicines are not reaching people who need it. A lot of people who don't have access to the online don't even know where to go. They don't even know that the BMC has or the municipalities have war room numbers. And so they are sort of, it's kind of like being in the sea, adrift at sea, and you're just flapping your hands and your legs and you're just trying to stay afloat. And in our case, it's very, very real that people are just trying to stay alive. They're trying to get a few breaths to stay alive. Even so, even admittedly when the situation is bad, it is important to first look at the reactions, look at the situation and say, is this proportional? Okay. Are things as bad as people are saying they are, as my mind says it is? Is it being catastrophized? Is it being slightly exaggerated? Okay. For instance, there is no oxygen. There is oxygen. It's just not reaching us. It may reach us. Some people are getting it. Some people are not getting it. There are no medicines. There are medicines. Stock is constantly being arranged. It just may not be available when you need it, as you need it. We are all going to die. Are we all going to die? We are not all going to die. Some are going to die. That is extremely unfortunate. That is very sad. And we must do everything we can to help them. But let us not assume that we are all going to die. We have just been abandoned. Have we just completely been abandoned? Is the government missing? Are there search parties out looking for them? No, they are there. They probably just don't know exactly what to do or haven't found the right reaction or aren't giving us the response that we expect from them. So you see, there are ways in which we do make situations bigger than they actually are. And that is the purpose of right perspective, of awareness, of clarity. It is seeing reality as it is. What is the situation today? Today, there is a high proliferation of COVID. Okay, so it's necessary first to watch your language. COVID is everywhere. It isn't everywhere. Okay, there are many families that also do not have it. There are even families in which one member has it and other four members staying in the same house don't have it, right? So there's a need to just, one, be proportionate, watch the language, see what we are exaggerating, catastrophizing, building up, and see the ways in which we can tone it down. It might not come down to zero, but if your fear, your panic, your insecurity, the anxiety is at 90, 100%, we can bring it down to say, okay, 60%. 60%, that's 40% less, 30% less, 20% less, wherever you are, okay, you have decreased your burden by a small amount. And that small amount matters to your mind because you are not now panicking every time you take the elevator to pick up a delivery from the lobby, every time you meet somebody in the lift. You're not sitting locked up in your house thinking that, oh my God, I'm just, this is it, it's over, it's end game. So these kind of phrases, end game, it's over, it's coming for all of us, this is the end of the world. These are languages that increase our anxiety. These are phrases that increase our anxiety and our worry. So it's necessary to watch the catastrophization, watch the exaggeration, see where you can tone down the language and begin to see reality as it is. Yata bhuta jnana dasna. Okay, see reality as it is. How can I be tranquil when I can see others suffering? When I can see, okay, maybe it's not come to my house, maybe I'm not in danger, maybe, I have my provisions, my job, my salary, and things coming to me, but I can see it all around me. How can I just, sit there and pretend like nothing is happening? I'm not inhuman. Yes, but it is also necessary at that time to distinguish between having compassion for others and responding to others and reacting and taking on their burdens. Right? What is the difference? When we simply react and we take on the burdens of others, we are also putting ourselves in the same situation. If a man is drowning, it doesn't help if you jump into the sea. What matters is that you have presence of mind, you go back to shore, you get the life raft, the rope, get help, call for the Coast Guard, take the boat out, the life raft out, and sit in the boat and pull him back in. It doesn't help if you also flap your hands and jump into the sea, right? And the difference between these two is in having a compassionate response, seeing what the situation needs, seeing what small way even that you can do to guide help to those people who need it. Some of us do not have the resources to go out and do food distribution, maybe because we also have comorbidities, poor health, we don't have the income, we have responsibilities at home, we're tending to other people, so we may not be able to do everything that others are doing or that others are asking or expecting us to do. So the question is not, oh, I cannot do anything, which again goes back to catastrophizing. The question is then, what is it I can do? Where can I respond from that works from me? It might be sitting in the corner and saying a prayer to relieve the suffering of the world. If that's all you can do, believe me, good vibes. So many people don't even have that in this time. They are, grudging and angry and full of resentment and defensive. So any amount of good vibes also that you can send out, if that's all you can do, that is plenty. If you can make a little extra of whatever food you're making for yourself, give it to a watchman, give it to somebody sitting outside your house on the street, even if it's one person, put some grain for the crows, put some food for the strays, that is also helping someone. Anything that allows you to take your gaze outwards, away from yourself towards another, is beneficial in any form. Yeah. So this also allows you to feel that you have a sense of control. When we give, we restore a sense of control to ourselves. What is it to have a sense of control? It is to understand, okay, that there are certain larger issues in the outside world that are beyond my scope of control. I cannot change policy. I cannot make the prime minister, the cabinet ministers, the minister of health, the pharmaceutical companies, the state governments. I can't make them do what I want to do. At the most, maybe I can put out one post on social media saying, you people need to do all this. And but unless you're somebody very, very important, it's highly unlikely the chief minister is going to go and look at your tweet and say, okay, I'm going to do what Gayatri said I should do, right? So we are more putting those things out for our venting, for our peace of mind, to make us feel that we have done something, we have said something, we have the solution. It makes us feel better. We are not actually doing that for others. What it's important then to do is to look at what is within my area of control. Okay, I cannot influence policy. I cannot change the chief minister's mind. I do not have the prime minister's view. What do I have? Okay, draw the circle of control. See what is within your circle of control. Many of us are dealing with, say, who are in offices, have team members, who have family members who are sick, who are even afraid, like there might be interns and younger people in our offices, colleges, places like that, who are just really nervous, who are very afraid, very insecure, don't know what to do, maybe live alone, separated from their parents, not eating properly, not sleeping properly. There are people we can influence. There are people we can help. There are people we can take charge of. Okay. So it is necessary to be realistic. I'm not saying we should not help others. We should not have compassion for others, but there is no point spending, say, 80% of your energy in worrying about what others are not doing. Okay, that's a complete waste of your energy. So we also have limited resources, limited time, limited energy, limited strength, limited attention. Of that amount, how much of your time is going to things you cannot control? How much of your time is going to things you can control? By all means, look at the news and curse and vent and, feel bad for things that the government is not doing, but keep it to 10%, keep it to 15%. If it's going above that, then it's consuming energy and time that you could use to things you can control. So put them in the back burner. Say, maybe when I get my salary next month, I'm going to give this much of it to this NGO, which can then distribute and help alleviate this problem. Okay, I'll do that on the first of the month and find solutions for those, leave it to the 10%. 80% are, my job might be precarious, I might not have an income, there are people around me who need my help. There might be elderly people in my building, for instance, who live alone, who have become, vulnerable, old. They might need groceries. They might need help with cooking, cleaning. Let me see what I can do for them. They might need me to go run and pay this bill, get this, item from a shop that doesn't deliver. So many small things that we can do. There are also people with non-COVID related illnesses who might need some help. Let's put things into our sphere of control. My house, my team, my family, my friends, my neighborhood, my community. Let's try and do the things that help them, right? And here's the thing, you cannot actually help them until you have helped yourself. Now, in all of this, a lot of us spending time on social media, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, all these things are constantly looking at what are they doing? What is the government doing? What are people doing? What are people saying? So, we have joined that little crowd standing outside the hospital or outside around the accident spot. And we are gauging our reactions and the situation based on the reactions of people around us. It is necessary to turn the gaze inwards, to look at yourself and to say, yes, but how can I give to others? How can I do for others? How can I have compassion? How can I provide an appropriate response until I myself am full? So you need to turn the lens inward and say, am I giving myself? Am I giving myself rest? Am I giving myself kindness? Am I giving myself nutrition at the correct time? Am I allowing myself to feel my fears? Am I able to sit with my feelings and sort of just, understand my own insecurities, how I'm feeling? Why am I lashing out at people? Why am I carrying this much resentment? Maybe because I'm afraid. Maybe because I cannot access the people around me who are part of my family, relatives, friends. Maybe I'm feeling isolated. So what are the things that I need? So in this way, if you break down, you will realize that when you yourself are doing better, it's only a plant that has received good soil, sunlight, water, nourishment, fertilizer that can begin to give fruit, right? And then that fruit is beneficial to others. If you have not watered the plant, if you have not taken care of it, if you've not given it time for it to release what it has to release, maybe dead leaves, maybe prune certain stems, you are not giving it the best chance to flower and fruit. It is necessary for the tranquility of your mind to turn your gaze inwards, to look at yourself and give yourself what you need. Then you can begin to sit down with a sense of shamata, calmness, equanimity. Accept your feelings. A lot of us, when we look at the situation, we say, okay, I'm accepting this situation. And we try and make the best of it. We think that that means being positive, being affirmative, saying that, yes, everything is going to be all right. That is not necessarily acceptance. Acceptance is not only of the good, it is also of the things that are difficult and that are technically bad. Okay, so it means that I might break down. It means that I might not be able to get out of bed for one whole afternoon. It might mean that I need to sit in a corner and start crying for no reason because I feel alone, I feel nobody understands. But I have to accept me. I have to accept that breakdown. I have to accept that that part of me is feeling insecure, vulnerable, afraid, that I need some care. I might need to call a friend and ask. I might be very used to being the strong person and always being there for others. But I might need to pick up the phone to a friend and say, you know what, I'm very scared at this time. I need you to comfort me. And these are also aspects of ourselves that have to come into the frame of acceptance. Otherwise, you are leaving a part of yourself behind. And when you leave your part of yourself behind and try to move forward, you'll find yourself like one of those trucks going up the Western Ghat. The more it is loaded, more it carries mental load, the more it will slow down. So you will find yourself fatigued, no energy, unable to do even simple tasks, no concentration, no patience, constant irritation, resentment, lashing out, disproportional responses. These all things you will start to see rising. Maybe you're having 2 cups of tea, too much coffee, watching too many things that you don't feel like spending time on. You'll see all this begin to rise because you're a truck going uphill. And when you're a truck going uphill, you begin to really slow down. In a way, slowing down is good because slowing down means you have to go slower, not just sort of run through life, go through the motions, but you have to go slower and re-look at the aspects of your life that are weighing you down. What is weighing me down? What is it that I cannot cope with? What are the things that I need to put down? Am I overloading the truck? Am I carrying things that are beyond my control? What is the minimum load I can carry? Okay, to get through this day, what are 2 or 3 things that I need to get done and just feel, okay, I can do this much. Who can I stay in touch with? What can I do that makes me feel better? Have I done anything today that makes me feel a sense of peace, that gives me a laugh, that gives me a little rest, relaxation, that takes my mind off the things that are so pressing? Right? So if you don't feed yourself with this compassion, with this kindness, then you are in no position to give to others. So then when you get into meditation, and I find a lot of people who say, oh, I sat yesterday, I tried to meditate, but it didn't work. I just, I'm too tense, I'm too anxious. It's not going to work unless you first do these things, right? And turn the gaze inwards, then sit with yourself. Sit with yourself with just acceptance for everything that you're feeling, everything that you are, for the circumstances outside you. And then you will come to a space of tranquility. And what is that tranquility? That tranquility is like gazing, the Buddha says, on a pool. Meditate on a pool that is still, in which there is no ripple, there is no wave. And all of reality is, anything that is surrounding is reflected as it is, with no change, with no transformation, no evaluation, no judgment, in the pool, in the water of the pool. That is the state of the mind when it is perfectly tranquil. And to achieve that, first you have to, it does not depend on others not dancing. It depends on the mind being still. And how do you arrive at the mind being still? It is to withdraw the mind from the external anarchy, chaos. Things may go right, things may go wrong, and just come to a state of self reflection. And that is where you reach the space of tranquility. So try these things, and I hope and wish for all of you in these difficult times that your gaze turns inwards and you're able to find the space of peace. And the beautiful thing about things like peace, tranquility, stillness, calmness is even if you get one moment of it, you might meditate for an hour and you might get just a few moments of that stillness. That one moment will sustain you for a very long time. So I hope that you are all able to achieve it, and please do check back. For those of you who are not aware, I also have a newsletter now on skygazing.substack.com. I will leave the link in the description box below. And there's also paid version, just around 400 rupees a month, which is 100 rupees a week, which is designed to be like a therapy session. So you will get interventions and meditations that you can do on your own. And this is especially useful to those of you who don't have the time, space, privacy, or even the money to spend on a full-fledged therapy session. This is not specific to anybody's needs, it is general, but over time you will develop a toolkit of interventions that you can use whenever you need them. So do give it a try, and do let me know what works for you, what doesn't. Stay safe, both for yourself as well as your family.